Hey, everybody, quick announcement. We're doing a second CMP study. Starting May 6th, it's a total win-win. You get to come into League if you qualify for the study, go through the first 8 weeks of League, which we call the 8-week parenting pivot. It's this incredible deep dive of implementing Connect Method parenting, and we get to follow your progress to show the impact Connect Method parenting is having on parents who implement it in their home. So it's a total win-win. All you've got to do is apply for the study before May 6th because that's when it closes, because that's when we're starting it. There's a link in the show notes, so you just click that link, answer some questions. If you pre-qualify, we'll reach out to you, confirm that it's a good fit, and then we'll be off to the races. So if you've been waiting for an opportunity to jump into League, but you've been hesitant for whatever reason, see this as your sign. It's your time to jump in. I would be so grateful because my mission is to get CMP out to more people. And part of that process is collecting statistical data showing how it works for people in their home in real situations. So it would be such a blessing for me if you feel inspired to participate in the study. And it would be such a win for you because you will be able to have access to the tools to shift from corrective to connective parenting. Now, this is only available until May 6th, so jump on it while you can. And if you're not interested in participating in the study, but you would like to start implementing Connect Method parenting, you want that assistance to guarantee you success, League is open for general traditional sign up as well. So you can sign up that way as well. You don't have to participate in the study, but both will close May 6th. So whether you are entering the traditional way or through the study, May 6th is the deadline, and we're not going to reopen until July or August for another round of League. I don't know if we're going to do another CMP study. We'll just have to wait and see. So now is the perfect time to join. And I just wanted to let everybody who's listening to the podcast know about this opportunity so that you don't go 2 more months and not have the help that you need. And real quick, before we get to the episode, I thought it'd be really fun to share some thoughts from people who just completed this study.
I just can never express how great this has been and how thankful I am. It's been everything. It's been so good.
Like, are we only 2 weeks in? It's like night and day already. There's just been this total shift.
Like our hearts are like so connected. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
I really see the change.
So fun. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So if you're ready to create a change in your parenting, you're ready to go from corrective to connective parenting, I would love for you to come participate in the study, or you can come in traditionally, but you got to get your application in before May 6th because that's when we're closing the doors. And the results, by the way, were so incredible from the first study. I am going to do a whole podcast episode about it to let you know what happens when we implement Connect Method parenting now that we have the data to support that. But we want a bigger base to pull from so that we have hundreds and hundreds of moms that have gone through this study, maybe even thousands. So if you are feeling inclined, come join us in the study. And if you have any questions, reach out to us at hello@connectmethodparenting.com and we'll get back to you. All right, on with the show.
There could be off-track behavior, and it didn't mean that I was failing or that my child was failing. Like, there can be things happening, and it's nobody's fault. I don't have to identify who's at fault and try to fix them.
Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. So happy you're here. It's Monday, and today I've got a treat for you. I've got my client, Michelle, who only learned about Connect Method parenting a few months ago. She just completed the 8-week parenting pivot, which is an intense, fast-paced parenting boot camp that everyone who comes into League now goes through. It creates this beautiful foundation so that you understand what Connect Method parenting is. My goal when I created it was to have this implementation-focused, slightly intense program that created as much change as humanly possible in the shortest amount of time. And you're going to see by the results that Michelle shares that is exactly what it does. It answers those questions of how the heck do I deal with my kid's behavior? I have no idea what to do. It's problematic, it's scary, it's frustrating, all of the things. And the 8-week parenting pivot really sets everyone up for success. So you come in, you create this blueprint, this map, you understand the scope of what Connect Method parenting is about. You get some amazing wins. And then we transition into CMP mastery so that we can solidify those changes and lock them in for good. So lean in and listen today, you guys, because what Michelle is about to share with you has happened in 8 weeks. So if you're ready to stop using punishments, to stop grounding, to stop lecturing, all of the things that just aren't sustainable and really don't change the child's behavior. If you're ready to drop those, like a bad habit, if you're wanting to use connection, compassion, empathy as your primary tool and get much better results, then this is going to be a must-listen podcast for you. Because not only did that start happening for Michelle, but it can happen for you too if you follow the clear, doable, simple steps of Connect Method Parenting. So if you're thinking, yes, that's what I want, I just don't really believe it could happen, you're going to want to listen up, because that's exactly what Michelle thought too. She's going to share some incredible examples, and to know that it has only taken a couple of months to get there is going to inspire you and help you see that it's possible for you too if you commit to learning and implementing Connect Method Parenting. If you're willing to follow these simple, doable steps, what has become possible for Michelle will become possible for you. So let's go. Michelle, I'm so excited to have you here. I can't wait for everyone to hear your stories and your journey with Connect Method Parenting. But before we begin, can you just give us a 30-second snapshot of who you are and kind of the dynamics of your family? Because it's super helpful so people can relate.
Sure. I'm 39. I'll be 40 in a couple weeks. I have been married about 18 years. I have 4 kids, 16-year-old boy, 14-year-old boy, 8-year-old boy, and then a little 6-year-old girl at the end.
Yay, girl at the end.
Yeah, so fun. So fun. And then, my husband works full time outside of the home. I have a boutique that I run mostly online that lets me work from home, which is nice. Interesting thing about our family, we're ADHD. 3 of us officially diagnosed, 2 of us medicated, the other 3 not yet, but me and my husband are, and I guess the genetics were strong there. So lots of impulsivity, lots of hyper focus in the things that we love, and complete lack of desire and willpower in the things that we're not interested in. So all of that, which has been fun.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's such a prevalent thing. And sometimes it feels, if that's something you're dealing with, then maybe certain things won't work. So I'm super glad that you're like, we're all ADHD and this still made a difference. Yeah. So how you found Connect Method Parenting and what it was like to jump in. You just completed the CMP study, which took you through the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first 8 weeks that we do with everyone coming into League, which is my implementation group for Connect Method Parenting. So what was it like for you to find that? Like, how did you find me and Connect Method Parenting and decide to join? All the things.
Yeah. One of my friends recommended, I think it's podcast number 4, it was like progressive failure. And it was more, we were kind of like doing this fitness stuff, and it was more around like that kind of, she was like, apply it to that. And that's kind of what I did as I listened to it. But I was intrigued enough that I started binging the other podcasts. And you're only on episode 4, so I didn't have very many to binge.
I didn't have that many. You found me at the beginning of the podcast.
I was like, I just kept listening and was so excited every week to hear more. And I loved what I was hearing, like, build connection and then they'll want to listen to you. And like consequences and rewards don't work. And I was like, you're right. Like, it's not working. But I didn't quite connect the dots on like, okay, so what do I do instead? And we were kind of in a really bad place, is how I was feeling anyways, with the state of things with my kids, especially one of my teenagers. We had just started going to therapy because we had like exhausted everything that we knew what to do, and we're needing some outside help. And then the same friend was listening to you talking about, we're going to open it up. You guys should get in. And she's like, you should do this with me. I'm going to do it. You should do it with me. And I was like, oh, no. I'm too busy. I'm too overwhelmed. Like, I can't wrap my head around one more thing. And thank goodness she was so persistent, because she was like, I think you should do it. I think you should just sign up. Just do it. I was really lucky. Like, the money thing wasn't a thing because we were already paying for therapy. It was like we were already at the point where money was involved.
Yes. Investment was happening.
Yes, it was happening. And if money could solve the issues we were having, it was 1,000% worth the money. I felt like I was losing my kids, failing my kids. I had a lot of scarcity around like the time left that I had, especially with my 16-year-old, like feeling like, he's about to leave the home and I'm like, nothing is going the way I want it to. And so with this overwhelm, I was lucky that the previous year I had kind of had the same issue happen, where I kind of like felt like I had hit this wall with my own health, my weight, my physical fitness. I was totally eating all of my emotions and was like hit this wall where I was like, I cannot keep doing this anymore. And I had a similar opportunity open up to do this fitness thing with a friend, and I was like, oh, I can't. We're building a house. I'm trying to run this business. Everything is going wrong, and just felt this like, you've got to do this. And it totally saved my life. And it is so crazy to me now, I don't know how many weeks later, after doing this parenting pivot, the state of how I felt when I started to how I felt now. It's like a life-saving feeling, honestly. Like, I can't describe it any other way. Like, this feeling of hopelessness to like so much hope and so much excitement about the future instead of this fear about the future. So yeah, the timing felt like it was totally wrong. And I think when we're struggling with the things with our kids, like, we're like, I just have to focus on this. But it was like, no, this is going to help me get where I need to be if I just trust the process and give it a chance. So thank you
for that. Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, thank you for trusting the process, trusting me enough to come in and then thank you for doing the work, because one of the things that I noticed all along the entire 8 weeks was just the commitment to consistently doing the work that it takes. Because just like anything with your fitness plan too, it's like you can sign up for the program, but you got to do the things, eat the food and do the exercises. And it's the same with parenting. And it's interesting because with fitness, it's very prevalent to have a fitness plan. Like, that's just what you do. Obviously, you need a meal plan and a fitness plan. So we're trying to break into the parenting world and say, you need a parenting plan,
Yeah.
So I love that you stepped in and did the work. Did you have you said money wasn't the issue. Time was kind of like, I don't have enough time to invest in this. Any other roadblocks? I mean, you worked through that, but any other things that felt challenging to make the commitment? If you're new to Connect Method Parenting, I have a great way for you to get started. I've created a free course that covers some of the biggest challenges parents are facing and how Connect Method Parenting solves them. In an hour, we're going to talk about why parenting is so hard, how to get your kids to want to listen to you, how to stop yelling and losing your cool, and become that calm, confident, connected parent for good. It's the fastest way to get started using connection as your go-to tool for influencing and impacting your kids. Go to cmp.works/course to get instant access today.
I would go into every day, like, I had these tools, right? I had this tool belt, like, okay, I'm not very good at this. This is really hard, but I have these like rewards that I could throw out to like get them to do what I needed them to do. And I have like the suit of armor that I put on that are all these consequences that can deflect what they're throwing at me. And I felt like it was like, okay, you got to lay all that down if you want to do this. And that for me was really hard. I was like, wait, you're like sending me into battle naked. Like,
yes,
that's what
it feels
safe.
like.
It does not feel safe. Like, they are really hard, Andy. You have no idea what you're asking me to step into.
You're asking me the impossible. How could you do this? Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. How, on a scale of like 1 to 10, how scary was that? Because this is a real thing I hear all of the time. Like, you're asking me to put away all of my tools. I have no tools.
So scary because, quite frankly, you don't give us the new tools for a while. You're just like, watch your thoughts. Just don't react. Just examine that. And I'm like for a while there was like some frustration, like, no, you've got, because like I just want to drink out of that fire hose. Like, just keep it coming. Give me everything at once. I can see now the methodology behind it. And like it all builds. And like, if you had given me it all at once, I would have probably thrown my hands up in the first week and been like, I can't. Like, this is
it's too much.
A different kind of overwhelm. But feeling like I was going into battle naked and these off-track behaviors would come up and I could, not yell. I could not consequence. I could not reward. But it did look like a lot of, okay, they're not going to do their responsibilities and I either can be okay with it or do it myself if it's bothering me that much. Or, like,
at first, that's kind of where you're left.
As I'm just like getting grips around my thoughts and trying not to cause damage.
I love that you're bringing this up. Do you see how if I had given you the response plans at the beginning, they wouldn't either have made sense or they would have been used just like a consequence punishment?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Because I still have to catch myself
translated.
With that. Like, as I'm like setting limits, I'm like, whoa, where's the tone? Where'd that tone come from? I thought I had worked through that. Or So I don't think I would have seen any of that without like the hyper focus on what's going on.
Yeah, you were not the only one. I had quite a few people saying this round, basically, when am I going to get to consequences? Like, I need the consequences back. You're taking them away. And I'm like, we're getting there. I promise we're getting there. But it is a really interesting process. I'd love to hear your take on it, of how we start with the foundational beliefs and the nervous system and regulating ourselves and really inspecting how we're showing up as a parent. So you enter the 8-week pivot, and I'm not giving you initially what to do when they misbehave, when they have off-track behavior. You gave us a little sneak peek, but like, what was it like for you as far as what you were getting, how much it was, as far as content, learning, implementation? Like, how was that load or the framework? Even though there was part of you that was like, you're not teaching me the thing I want.
Yeah.
How was that initially as you entered?
I think it was good. I feel like, and again, this could be the ADHD where like once you're into something, you're like into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there any more? Is there any more? Like I wanted more.
It.
But no, I totally see the methodology behind it. And like just having, like I wanted to do, I didn't want to sit and be with the emotion that I was having, and to really like digest, what am I thinking? And is this really even a problem? Like I was just so convinced that everything that I initially snap judgment, you know, that's a problem, that needs to change. Like I was forced really to sit with it. I know, I forced you.
I'm such a me. Like, we're not going any further, Michelle.
Yeah, but it was good because like once you start to realize it's not all black and white and it's not all concrete. And what I think I'm implementing to serve my children is not really serving any of us. It's creating trouble.
That's huge. That's huge awareness. And one point I want to circle back actually really quickly was you said, I wanted to do more. And this is a heavy implementation program. Like we're learning things, then we're implementing, but it's not always implementing it in the way maybe you thought I was going to have you implement, because there's so much internal work. But how did you feel like the pace was?
I thought it was great.
And the way you were able to digest it. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. And it's funny because like as you were saying that back to me, do more, like there was plenty to do. I could have done as many thought downloads as I wanted to.
That's right.
But it's like I feel like in my parenting, I had gone so far like disconnected from what was happening internally, because it was all about what was I going to speak to my kids? What was I going to say to them? What was I going, what consequences was I going to physically implement? You know, like take away, or I was so sure that the answer was outside of me and that it wasn't just some kind of error with, or that some kind of like little tweak could be made inside, because that would have just been too easy. My brain was like, if it was that easy, I would have figured it out. But then it was that easy and I hadn't figured it out.
So I know, right? So crazy. Okay. That's so good. What was your favorite part going through as you reflect back?
One of my very favorite things to figure out was that there could be off-track behavior, and it didn't mean that I was failing or that my child was failing. Like there can be things happening and it's nobody's fault. I don't have to like identify who's at fault and try to fix them. Like that was like the whole entirety of all of my parenting experience was like, okay, who created this? Who's messing up? And let's go let them know that they messed up, because
in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, in the heat of the moment. Yeah.
When everyone's triggered and it's a complete mess.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So interesting.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts I've been wanting to talk about with you, because as we did office hours, which is one of the things that we did throughout the program to support you, you could come ask questions and all the things and anything you needed, really. I remember one of the mornings you popped in and you shared some really amazing progress that you had made. And a lot of it, like you said, was I'm showing up so differently and it's changing the situation because of how I'm showing up. And I'm realizing the things I was thinking were my kids' issues, that's less the reality, and more how I show up can change everything. And we're all human, so we're all messy. But so I would love for you to share just some of those wins that you had along the way, that your brain all of a sudden could say, oh, this is working. This is going to make a difference.
Yeah. So I think it started with what I just said, was like, they're not failing, and realizing that helped me, or even beyond failure, like they're not purposefully defying me and purposefully being difficult. They're just like doing the work of emotional growth and maturity in their kid bodies, teenage bodies. You know, they look like adults. So like sometimes I was getting confused and like the behaviors, and just realizing that helped me to like want to reconnect and want to love them more. I don't think we'd even gotten to the part of like specific connection plan or what to do beyond. This is still really early on. But I was, instead of waking up in the morning, dreading the day, knowing they're going to screw up, it's going to make me feel like a failure as a mom, going in almost with like my armor on, right? My fists up, like ready to defend myself. I was able to like I always loved my kids. I liked them again. And like, I wanted to be with them again. And I didn't feel the need to like disconnect to protect myself from them. And the whining wasn't a problem. And the tantrums weren't a problem. And I could hold the space. And I was seeing them like move through those things faster and faster. And a lot of it I realized is just because they needed to feel heard. And I was just like, stop, stop, stop. And the more you tell somebody to stop, the more they get louder and louder because they're like, no, you have to hear me. And even with my teenagers, like just being more playful and happy to be around them. And it was like all of a sudden they were all treating each other differently. There were still problems. We were not perfect.
Yeah, I do want to mention that. Like, this isn't about you're going to be a perfect parent who never messes up. If someone ever says that, you should run really fast because that's completely not possible. Yeah. But it is about I can recover quick when I make a mistake. Right. I can set a limit even if my kid is so frustrated about it and not get flared up and cause problems, any more problems in the relationship than, that he might pull away for a little bit, but I'm going to stay connected. And to know that feels life-changing. Yeah. It feels life-changing to know that I can handle anything. I remember you telling a story about one of your kids who just like was reaching out to connect with you in ways that hadn't happened in a long time and how amazing that was. Because you're like, what is happening? So can you expound on that? I don't know how much or little you want to share about that experience, but I remember thinking, this is incredible. Like, this is so fun. I want to just celebrate you all day long for this. Yeah,
I can't remember the exact thing, but I've got another one that I can tell you that'll convey the same thing, at least if it's not the same one. But so we had a situation, and when I said my kids were being nicer to each other, it just meant like they weren't, the teenagers, especially the two teenage boys, would just fight constantly. Like if they're in the same room, they are physically fighting. And it's like that had like dissipated to where they could actually be in the same space and not hurt each other.
Oh, I love it.
But one morning, one of them, the 14-year-old was antagonizing the 8-year-old, and the 16-year-old felt like he had to defend the 8-year-old and just went after with an uncalled for intensity at the 14-year-old. And I wasn't in the room and I could hear it going on, and I came in and everybody's like, it was him, it was him, it was him. Well, we have these Ring cameras in our home. So I was like, let's see. So I pull it up and it was, the 16-year-old definitely had like really gone after the 14-year-old hard, and it was really hard to watch. And I don't think the 16-year-old had the awareness around like how aggressive he had been. And like my mind initially is going like, this is dangerous. This is not okay. You know, if he's going to treat his siblings this way, like it's not even safe to have him in my home.
Oh, catastrophizing.
Like, my mind is like going crazy. Like I'm not a good mother if I allow this kind of a thing. And how can he be a good person if he thinks this is okay? You know, like all of this stuff. And I was like, am I just channeling like all the things that you had been teaching us? And I just got the impression, like, just show him the video. And, you know, he was still just like kind of walking around and around defending himself. And I was like, you know, come here, look at this. I don't want to look at this. I was like, I need you to watch this. And he watched it, and I could just see on his face the shift in like, oh my gosh. Like I could see the realization, like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea that's what it looked like from outside of my body. And so at the time, again, I felt that urge to like, let's tell him. Let's start telling him all the things.
Let's teach him right now. Yeah.
And I just got like this, nope. The other kid had to go to a practice. So I was like, just take him to practice. Let it sit. Take him to practice. And so I took the other kid to practice, and I came back. And the 16-year-old was sitting at the kitchen counter, and he kind of like, when I walked in the door, I could kind of see like his demeanor, like almost like, okay, here it's coming. Cause that's how I've always shown up in the past. Like, okay, she's going to tell me how horrible I am because I'm going to cry. I know that's what just seeing the video, that's how he was feeling about himself. And it's so funny to think that in the past that me pointing that out to him even more, that I thought that that was helpful.
Yeah.
And I saw that. And I just watched the sink and was doing dishes. And I just remember saying, so what have you got going on today? And I remember the look in his face, like he just like looks at me like, who are you? A little bit like, are you
Oh
my
my
mom?
gosh.
Like, who's abducted you? And he just kind of paused, and then he started talking about his day. And immediately he goes into this story about his friend and how this one friend is making choices about drugs and different things, and how he's feeling sad, but he thinks he's got to cut this friend off. And I'm like, oh, and and he keeps going on and like telling me all these things about these choices this friend's making and how he just doesn't feel like it's lining up with like who he wants to hang out with anymore. And just like voluntarily shares all this information.
Yeah.
And then we end up going into a conversation about like alcohol and like how some of his friends were talking to him about like how drinking's so great. And he wanted, like, we kind of, our family, we're not drinkers. And so he just like, what is it? And like, what's the big deal? And like, he just like, we just had this like really crazy, open,
Beautiful,
non-judgmental conversation about drinking and why some kids choose to and why some don't, and what that looks like. And, I don't know. It was just crazy. And it was one of those things where even leaving it, I was like, that was so good. That was so crazy. How did that happen?
Yeah.
But there was still that little thing in the back of my mind that's like,
yeah.
do I still need to tell him how wrong that was?
Yeah.
that he hurt his brother. And that was the part where I felt like, okay, this is a trust fall. I've got to let that go and just let's see where this takes us. And we have not had since that time a major altercation. There have been minor ones. They have still wrestled a little bit and done like what brothers do, but they have not like really gone after each other since then. And that for me was another turning point, like, oh my gosh. And I didn't have all the tools even at the time. That was just with like the little beginning first few weeks.
I love it. Just calming your nervous system down, understanding how all the emotions are working.
Yeah. And my husband was seeing the changes. And when I had started this, I kind of told him what I was doing, and I was hoping he would kind of do it along with me. And I've pulled him into so many parenting things along the way. And he was kind of like, honey, I love you. I support whatever you want to do, but I'm just not going to like, you can tell me about it. I'm not interested. Like, I've got too much going on. But then he started mirroring some of the same things that I was doing. And that was really pretty cool to see.
Yeah. I love so many things you said. I want to point out one huge thing that took me a long time to get. I'm so glad it only took you a few weeks. Hallelujah for someone learning and passing on what they've learned. But just trusting that our kids have a really beautiful inner moral compass. And especially as they're older and they're able to think with, the prefrontal cortex is coming on and they're starting to understand cause and effect, that they really know if we give them the space and the safety to be able to tap into that. And I love that you had the video, because that was just such a neutral way for him to be able to see what happened without you even needing to say a word.
Right.
And he knew that wasn't right. I don't want to act like that. But because you didn't compile on, his nervous system didn't need to then get defended against you. It was able to just focus on himself and looking at himself, and then unload all those things that were probably contributing to him being so emotionally volatile with his brother. Was like all this stuff happening with his friends was contributing to it. And so then he got to release all of that and process all of that with you. It just, and then to open up freely. And what I love is that when we can stay connected and calm when things are off track, we get, triple, double, 10 times the amount of return of connection from our kids, because they think if my mom will accept and love me when everything is going off track, and I clearly know I didn't make a good decision, but she's still here with me, I can trust her with a lot of stuff now, because if she's accepting me at my worst, she'll accept me at my best for sure. And everywhere in between. So, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Well, and that for me was really the beauty behind the connection, because I'm sure those signs like that I saw in his face when I walked in, I'm sure those have been there in the past, but I've been too caught up in my anger to see that he was already shaming himself. He was already internally doing the work. I couldn't see it because I was just so angry and so in my own head and so disconnected.
Yeah. I love that, because in those past moments, it was about you.
Yeah.
How am I feeling? What does this mean about me as a parent? I need to fix you as a child. Versus in this recent chain of events, you were focused on him. You were like, I'm taking myself out of the equation. This doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not taking it personal. I'm not worried about what this means about me. I'm just worried about him. They can feel that. And that shift is huge, but it has to come from us feeling safe, like safe with ourselves, and us safe with our kids' behavior being completely messy. And maybe even, like you said, where your brain's catastrophizing to is, oh my gosh, this is not even okay at all. Maybe this is really bad. What do you think was the shift? Like if you had to go back to that moment, the shift in your mindset, if you had to summarize it in a couple of sentences that allowed you to show up like that through that experience, and maybe contrast it. Like it used to be this and now it's this. That might be helpful.
Yeah. In that moment, I kind of feel like that was maybe my baby powder blizzard. Like there really wasn't a good reasoning. Yes. Like I didn't have all the
miraculous
thing in there.
Yeah.
I have a lot more now.
It was your baby powder blizzard moment.
Yes.
I love it. Yes.
But now I feel like I'm a really visual person. And so when I see these things happening now, I've kind of equated it to like having a beautiful home, but a yard full of weeds. And everyone looks at these weeds and they're like, oh, that looks pretty messy. And in the past, I just wanted to like mow them down or stomp them down or, rip them up, just the leaves. I haven't taken the time to like get to the root because I just didn't want anyone to look at them or see them or judge me on them, And this has been like taking the time and learning that if I get to the bottom of the root, and this is where it gets a little bit weird, but that if I pull up each of those weeds really carefully, there's like a diamond right there on the bottom
I love that.
That nobody else believes is there, that nobody else can see from the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And so when those things happen, I'm like, okay, we're going to add to our diamond collection.
Oh my gosh, I love this so
much.
Silly
person, but and it's just like, yeah, I don't want to try to stomp them all out. I get a little bit excited when they come up because it's like that opportunity to like, let's see how I can do this, like test myself and see if we can really get there. And I don't care that there's still weeds in my yard and that it's not something I'm going to solve overnight because it's worth waiting for those diamonds and it's worth taking the time individually to work those up. I don't want to call somebody in to come and take care of them for me because I want them. I want them for me and I want them for my kids and so.
I've never thought of it like that. I love that so much though.
I don't know.
I often say like get excited about when something like off track behavior happens because it's an opportunity. You just like you get to practice, they get to experience you differently. I love the analogy of you get to explore it and pick it up out of the ground and it's a diamond because that's absolutely the truth. And the fact that there's no problem, like they're going to happen, it's okay, and you want to take care of them. I just love everything about that analogy. It's
and then sometimes you think it's a weed and it turns out to be a wildflower and you have to check yourself.
Right.
Like, wait a second. That one didn't need pulled.
That didn't need pulled. That's just beautiful. Even though it's a little less cultivated than the others, it's okay. It's still beautiful. Oh, that's so good. So is the thoughts like, I see these weeds coming up and it's okay that they're there and they're beautiful, even though they might be deceiving from the top appearance? Like what's the...
Right. Well, they're potential for those diamonds, right?
Yes.
I don't really care so much about how they look to other people, walking by. I don't care as much. Yep. She's having the tantrum. Enjoy the show. We're just going to chill here in Target till she's good again,
till she's done. Yeah.
Have a nice day shopping. Like, whereas before I was like, and even in places like church, I would be so worried about like other people's experiences, and not that I'm completely disregarding of that either. And,
want to be respectful.
If she needs some space too, like we'll go find that quiet space for her to work through things. But I don't worry about like people saying, gosh, her kids they're a handful, those things like people will turn around to you in church like, wow, you've got your hands full. And you're like, I sure do.
Thank you so much. I know my favorite was I was in Target and somebody said, thanks for making it so my child never wants to have children. She had like a young adult. And I was like, oh no. He's like, that's, you've made it so she's never going to want to have children. I'm thinking, okay. And I just had to, I had both of my last two are a year and 5 days apart. So I had them both like into the football hold and I just walked out of the store at that point. I just left my groceries. I was like, okay, clearly these two are not ready to be in Target right now. But to be able to sit with the judgment of other people and say, that's totally safe for you to judge me. It's completely fine. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
So any other beautiful analogies or stories? That was so good. We could just I want to type that up and share that with the world. That was so good.
You're funny. I'm very into analogies and stories. I feel like even finding this, like it's felt like I was so sure like there was no easy answer. And it's almost like being in financial ruin and God telling you there's $10 million in your mattress. And you're like, there's no way. There's no way. I've been sleeping there every night. And he's like, no, just cut it open. but where will I sleep if I cut the mattress open, And it's like,
So funny.
that's kind of what, like, the analogy I feel like in my thinking, like, how will I do it if I leave all these consequences and rewards? It's like, well, you'll have $10 million. You won't need them anymore. Like, you won't need the mattress. You can buy another mattress. But it's like, oh, like, how do I cut the mattress open? Like, but it really has felt like that. And I think I've always felt like I've been entitled to, like, some divine. I'm sorry, I've never heard you get very religious on this podcast.
Oh no,
so if you
that's good. I love the divine. I love it. No,
like,
go into religious and God. I love it all.
But I feel like I've been, like, praying for these answers and, like, trying to get there and never getting there. And I'm like, I know that you want to help me in this, but, like, tell me what to do,
Where are you?
And then like through the process of doing these thought downloads and these steers, it's like you do them, you meditate and pray, and then it's like you get this answer. And I've realized it feels too easy sometimes. It's like, wait, this is always like available. This has always been available to me, and I just had no clue. But then I'm realizing, like, if I hadn't done the work in the steer at my thoughts, the answer that I got wouldn't have made any sense, and I wouldn't have been open to it, and I wouldn't have heard it. And so that's been really beautiful to me. And quite frankly, I really do think Connect Method parenting is learning how to teach our kids the way I feel Christ teaches me in my own life.
Oh, I agree.
It's like, I don't feel judged. I don't feel shamed. I don't feel like you're so awful and beaten down and told all the things that I do wrong. I just feel like he's there with open arms saying, it's okay. Like, I'm here to comfort you. I'm here for you. And if you want me to show you a better way, I'm happy to do that as well. And just follow me. And I feel like that's what this is. And it's like, in Christianity, all over the world, we all know, like, follow Christ. Why have we never applied that to parenting?
I don't know. We're trying to get it out there. You and me, Michelle, we're getting it out there. I mean, this is like the thing is, like, with the woman at the well or the prostitute, right? He's so, I love you where you are. Go try to do better.
Yeah.
There's not like, do you know how bad this is?
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
You've got to really understand how awful you are. That's
and
not
let me
the
give
feeling.
you a big fat consequence so that this is really ingrained in you. He's just like, go sin no more.
Yeah.
It's like so simple. It's like, I love you. Go sin no more. And I'm sure the way it was even said was so full of compassion. Right. This compassion and firmness we talk about marrying together. That's the formula that I think is exuding from that. And what you said about receiving, like, divine inspiration, I feel like when our nervous systems are regulated, when I'm not in fight or flight and my thoughts are clear and I've done my work to get myself to be a vessel that can receive, we can receive it. And if we're not, like exactly what you said, we either wouldn't get it, we wouldn't notice it even happen. It'd be like knocking on our door, hello, and you'd be like, I don't hear that knock, or I just wouldn't make sense. So I love that you brought that in, because I feel the same way. And it's funny because sometimes people have come to me and they're like, I don't know, does this match up biblically? And I think it totally does. Yeah. But everyone would have to decide that for themselves. Right. So obviously I'm not going to make, a stick. Yeah. But to me, it does exactly like what you're saying. Like, it totally matches up.
The other half of that really helps me in thinking that, like, this is showing up for my kids the way the Savior shows up for me is like, I'm trying to be like Christ. Of course I'm going to fail. Right. Yes. And we give ourselves that grace in our day-to-day lives. But for some reason, like, messing up every once in a while as a parent is like, not okay. And we shame ourselves, like, that's horrible. How dare you? And it's like, no, I'm trying to be like Christ, and I messed up, and I can try again and try to do better.
Because the recovery is just as important as we learn just as much from needing to recover from making a mistake as we do from doing great. Like, they're both beautiful and perfect. And absolutely. This is not about you're going to learn Connect Method parenting and then never mess up. Nope. But, like, it makes it so much easier to say, I just totally screwed up right now with my kids. Like, I need to go do something different. Maybe work on myself first and then go repair some things that happened. Oh, so good. So if the old you, before you started learning, and this is only 8-9 weeks now, right? We've been into this. So this has not been very long. So crazy. I love it. Because one of my goals is, like, let's get this as concise, as fast of results as humanly possible. I mean, we have to work with our brain, so sometimes it takes a little time for those to totally sink in. But the changes can happen fast. So if the old you could see you now, what do you think she would say to you?
She'd say, no way. There's no way.
I love it.
There's no way. Like, there's no way. I will say, like, even, like, thinking back to all the hang-ups, like the money. if the money was the hang up and this was as far as I could afford to get, I have so many tools that could take me so much farther. Even if I never got to speak to you, not that I'm not devaluating things. I for sure am going to be sticking around for a minute because I still have a lot to learn. But like if I really
it's great to get support. Yeah,
it
but
was
this would
like,
still be
this
monumental.
has been a game changer for me, like game changer. And so that part of it, the overwhelm, it's so funny because sometimes when we're like feeling like we're drowning, it's like we see the shadow coming towards us and we just like want to like shove it away and like really it's the life raft that's like floating over to save us.
Oh, I love that. It's so good.
Now I'm like on the life raft and like I'm like, hey, I can kind of go where I want to go now, and I've got some tools I've got some paddles and some things to get me where I need to be. And it's just like, I just feel like I can breathe again. I don't feel like I'm fearful about my kids anymore. I feel like I have a lot of hope around their lives and what that's going to look like. And the pressure to feel like I had to create that for them is gone.
Yet it's happening.
Yeah.
You don't have to create it, yet it's happening. Like the pressure is gone, but it's still, it's like our brains are, it's like what it would be like for me to try to understand physics or something. I'm like, I don't get it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like it's working, but I don't understand it. It almost feels like that. Like, how is this happening? Because I thought I had to create it this way, but as soon as I released it, it actually happened and it's getting created.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I've thought about is like, it's like my kids are painting this masterpiece, right? That's going to be their life. And I have felt like as the parent, I knew what that was going to look like on the canvas. And it was my job to stand behind them, put my hand on top of their hand that's holding the brush, and make sure they don't do anything wrong and that they do everything right and that they're painting the picture correctly. And it's like I've realized, no, that's not my job. My job is to hold the little cup of water and sit next to them. Whenever they want to change colors, I can like hold that water out and let them rinse the brush. And then I just get to kind of watch and be there and be supportive and be excited, sometimes probably be confused.
Yes.
What are you painting there? And realizing that at any point they can paint over the stuff that didn't work for them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's not all life and death. The mistakes are the process. Giving them space to make the mistakes is making the mistakes happen. Well, the things that I'm determining is the things that I call mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. They happen less the less you try to make them not happen. It's so crazy. It's like switching everything on its head. Yeah. Like it's obvious, just like you said, it's obvious. I want to be like this, but then it wasn't obvious until it became, you see it and then you're like, oh, this is not that crazy. It just was different than the way I thought it would be. I love it. I love the idea of holding the water and you're like, and I was thinking as you were saying that, I'm going to clean the water. So like, that's me like really getting myself in a good place. I'm like really getting myself clean because I don't want to, but it's not, my job is nothing more than just to hold this water for you and create an environment where you can live your life and thrive. That's so, so good. What advice would you give someone who's thinking about maybe trying this out? They've heard your story and they're like, that's what I want to, but I don't know. Like I've tried so many things and I'm not sure it would work. Either my kids are so hard or I doubt myself. What would you say?
Do it.
I love it. Do it. Go sign up, everyone. No. I
tried all the things too. And like when you said, what would that person who signed up think of right now? Like I would have thought it was impossible. We were having major problems, like kid flunking out of school. I was having concerns about drugs and alcohol because I was seeing and hearing from other people what was going on with kids. Concerns about kids being sexually active, concerns about like all the big things that really will bring you to your knees. Like, please help. Like, what are we doing? And the crazy thing is so many things that I was so sure was happening were not even happening.
Your mind just believed it.
It's not even happening. Like it was happening with their friends and it opened up opportunity for really good conversation. But and I had a kid that would just like cry and whine all day. And I was like, something is like wrong with him. Something is broken in him. And I'm like, no, it's just because you never give him a safe space to process anything. And he's just like erupting with all of this. And it's like, just start letting it happen. Like quit telling him to be quiet, quit sending him away, quit.
How has that changed things with that child?
Oh, so much less. Yeah. So much less. Yeah.
So good. I just want to sit in all that goodness. Oh my goodness. Is there anything else that you haven't said that you want to share? Final thoughts? This has all been so great. I feel like we could keep talking for so long because you're just such a example
Chatterbox.
of what's possible. No, I love it. You're such an example of what's possible. I love it. Bring on the chatter. I mean, I'm all for it because it's so powerful to see the change in someone else, because then somebody might decide, oh, maybe I can change too. Maybe this can work for me. So I really appreciate you sharing all of it. So anything else?
I guess my last thought is that Connect Method parenting has made what felt impossible. Like, this is impossible. It's like all of a sudden it's possible. The impossible has become possible. Like I said, like I just have all these tools and it's so much easier. It's like I was so sure that the rewards and consequences were going to be like, oh, you take those away, then it's going to make it so much harder. And to find the exact opposite was true has been just like, oh, I just feel like I was walking around with that big old tool belt and that, suit of armor on, feeling like I had to wear it or it wasn't safe. And it's like now I've been able to like take that off and I'm just like, the weight is gone and the worry is gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still worry and we still have a whole lot of weeds in our yard, a whole lot of them.
But there's a lot of diamonds that means.
There's so many diamonds under everyone. And so it's like, it doesn't feel like a crushing weight anymore. It's like, this is all just normal stuff. And this is just my kids' process of growing up. And parenting is not just about their emotional maturity. It's also about my own.
Yes. Oh, amen to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just as much about my own growth as theirs. And if you want to just stay stuck where you are, not grow at all and keep causing the same problematic cycles for your kids and never get anywhere, then don't do it.
I love it.
But if you're interested in a change and something that really will bring a lot of like peace and clarity and healing, like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to just not feel like any of my kids are a problem and to really see their value and their worth and the beauty in them wholeheartedly all the time, even when they're putting on a real big display. Like,
yeah. Even when that off-track behavior is coming in strong, you're like, I still love you. This is great.
That it's possible to hold that space inside of me and to not mirror what they're doing.
Yes.
It's like having this calm in the storm that lets me show up in the way that I want to show up and keeps me from repeating those cycles of like blame, guilt, shame about how horrible I'm being as a mom for them. And that I can like, it's crazy. I can't believe that I'm able to do that. Because I would have thought that's impossible. When my kids are beating on each other and one is screaming and the other one's asking for a snack and like seems completely oblivious to like the chaos that's going on. And I'm feeling pulled in 1,000 different directions that I can harness in 8 or 9 weeks, like this ability to just like, nothing's wrong here. This is fine. Just start with one. You're not gonna be able to do it all for all of them at the same time. Always. Like that doesn't always work. And that's okay. That's not a problem.
And that's okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This was so good. Thanks for that wrap up. That was perfect way to summarize it all and paint the picture of what's possible and to do it in, I think it's 9 weeks now, but 9 weeks is just not a very long time. So I'm so happy to hear the results you got. And thanks for letting us celebrate it on the podcast and inspire all the moms out there and dads. We won't forget about you dads, but who want to make a change. So thank you so much, Michelle.
I have to say thank you. Thank you for all the work that you're doing and for putting this out in the world. I truly feel like it's divinely inspired and
just coming through me. I can't take credit. It's just coming through. Yeah.
I'm just so grateful for all the effort and work that you're putting into getting it out there because it's changed our family. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Me too. It's exciting. It's exciting to see it just continue to grow and get out there. And thanks for being a part of that and doing the work that you had to do to make it happen. So thanks so much, Michelle.
It is hard work.
It's hard work, but it's worth it.
It's
no
good.
better investment, right? Like if you could do anything else in the last 9 weeks, would you have done anything else instead of this?
I couldn't have because I would have been like trying to put out the fires all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I thought I had no time for it because I just had to put out all these fires. But the truth is it would have just kept burning. I never could have caught up.
Down. Yeah.
Without the shift, without the change.
So good. Well, thanks again. This was so fun and can't wait. This is just the beginning for you. You just wait. You just wait. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming on. I loved every second of that conversation. I'm so glad you got to listen in and see what is possible for you too. Now, If you are loving this podcast, if you could go subscribe and leave a review if you haven't already, that would help so much to get the message of CMP out into the world, because that's how Apple decides, and I think Spotify too, if they're going to suggest this to other parents looking for a good parenting podcast. So if you could go do that, that would be awesome. Also, tune back in later this week for the next installment of the CMP Book Club on Thursday. And remember, once you've listened to the episode, be sure to share your takeaway from the chapter that I've read on social, tagging us at Connect Method Parenting. We'll share it on our social feed, and you will get entered into the drawing. That's part of the Asynchronous CMP Book Club. All right, you all. Thank you for listening in to this incredible episode. I hope it inspired you and that you're able to take action on some of the things that Michelle shared and go make a difference in your family today. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out League, my Connect Method parenting coaching program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.